Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Do some podcast ASMR here. Hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we are. Did you hear it this time, Kyle?
Just a tiny bit.
Okay. Well, last time you couldn't hear it at all, and it came through just fine on the podcast. So I think as long as it makes it to the recording, we're good. We have a hazy headlines from I got the light right on that, from Masthead Cleveland Brewery tonight. That's the beer. Kyle, what are we doing tonight for the actual podcast?
We're gonna do our depth chart prediction 1.0. Now that early signing day is done and the transfer portal for Ohio State is done, unless there's any other big surprises that comes in, I think we know who's going to be on the field or suited up for the 2024 season.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think we know what the roster is. I think at least until after spring, because there's another portal opening after spring.
That's true.
Until after spring, I think we know what the roster is at this point. I don't even if we were to get another recruit before National Signing Day, which I'm not anticipating will happen, they're not going to come in for the spring. I do not anticipate. There are some rumors out there that maybe Ohio State might pursue a Michigan player or two, since Michigan players with Harbaugh officially leaving for the NFL, that maybe there'll be some Michigan play. I don't see it. I have not seen anything to this point that I would call definitive to strongly suggest that that's possible. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think this is the roster for Ohio State until after spring. I think this is the roster.
Hey, yeah, it's. I think especially the defensive side, Jared, could have been a lot different.
Could have been a lot different.
Could have been a lot different here, but man, this, just looking at the roster here and getting into the depth chart here shortly, but just looking at the roster, I think you mentioned it once before, maybe a couple of episodes ago. Maybe the most talented defense that we've seen at Ohio State in a very, 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 very long time.
I mean, we're talking specifically about secondaries a week or two ago. But just defensively overall, pure talent, you'd be hard pressed to find a better Ohio State team ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conversation at the very least.
Definitely.
All right.
But we're kind of beating around the bush here, Jared. Let's go ahead and start with the offensive side here.
Sure, let's do that.
Let's do your favorite. Let's do the slobs. Let's start with the slobs up front.
Are we starting out of order? Okay,
yes,
hold on.
we are.
Let me recalibrate real quick. Okay, sorry.
How I do things.
Yeah, I know, but I had everything in order in Photoshop for the visual, and you throwing a wrench into that it is fine. I've adjusted. I just had to adjust. That's all.
All right.
If you're just watching if you're just listening to the podcast version of this, we're gonna throw the names up on the screen as we go for the YouTube folk.
All right. I think unanimously here, Jared, your starting center is McLaughlin.
I think so. You have Padilla, who was the starting center last year, or excuse me, no.
Nope.
when it comes to the center position, Hinsman was the center last year. I think they bring in McLaughlin specifically to replace him. I think that's why McLaughlin is brought in. There was a lot of talk early on about, hey, is he a guard? Is he a center at Ohio State? And I think he's a center. He's going to be the center at Ohio State. I'm not sure where the relationship stands between Ohio State and Hinsman and Ohio State. So for now, I think the odds-on favorite is McLaughlin at center.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I have for my prediction as well. But I think we have.
And who do you have backing him up?
I have Hinsman. As the backing him up.
And I have Padilla, which I don't know where the relationship is at right now between Hinsman and Ohio State and Hinsman. I think there's a distinct possibility he might transfer after the spring. I'm not, it's in today kind of long-standing, like we don't talk about transfers on the podcast. Kyle, I don't know if that's a realistic stance to take anymore in the age of the portal and two portal windows. If we can realistically, if we can have a realistic conversation about a college football roster without talking about transfers and potential transfers. I just don't think it's a long-standing thing we never did on the show, but I just don't think that's a realistic stance to take anymore.
Yeah, I have Hinsman just not even thinking about transfers and all that. So if this is the roster
I'm thinking
here,
about
I got Hinsman.
I am thinking about transfers in my projection. So I have Padilla. Now, Kyle, we've decided we're coming to a consensus on the show. I have Padilla written in currently. If you want to take a stance on this one and say, no, Hinsman's on the roster, we're going to keep him on the roster till he's on the roster, yeah, I'll respect it.
That's exactly it. If he's still on the roster, he is right there. He should be on there. So I got Hinsman.
I'm going to let you have that this time. I don't know if I'm going to let you take that stance all the way through the podcast. But for now, I'll let you have Hinsman in the depth chart. What position you go into next?
All right, let us go.
Left tackle?
I guess let's do sure. Yeah, left tackle. Who do you got?
I have Luke Montgomery there. I believe that Simmons is a right tackle. That's what he played at San Diego State. I don't know that I don't know if he's an Ohio State quality left tackle. Now, in his second year in the program, maybe he takes a jump and maybe he's way better this year than he was last year. And quite frankly, he was much better at the end of the season than he was at the beginning of the season. So we really might see Simmons continue to take strides forward and be better. And maybe by the time September rolls around, maybe he is an Ohio State quality left tackle. But for right now, I'm going to project that Simmons gets moved to right tackle where, that's where he played in San Diego State. He never played left tackle before. They brought Simmons to Ohio State to be the right tackle. That's why they brought him here. I think that's where he is more naturally fit. I'm going to project that they move Simmons to right tackle and that Montgomery wins the left tackle spot. That is my projection.
Simmons here. I got Simmons as your starting left tackle right now. It's hard for me to put Montgomery out there.
I'm telling you right now, Kyle, it is my preference that goes to a high profile left tackle that hits the portal after the spring and not Montgomery.
Yeah,
but we can't project that.
Yeah. So I have Simmons as my left tackle, and then the right tackle, Right tackle, I have Fryer.
If we have the same tackle pair that we did last year, we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put my foot on this one, Kyle. I'm gonna put my foot down. I want the tackle combo the way I have it, and that and it is my desire again that the left tackle actually be like a high profile transfer who hits the portal after the spring. That would be my desire. But I don't think Fryer's entering his 6th year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna all of a sudden turn into an Ohio State quality tackle this offseason. Like if he was gonna do that, he would have done it by now. If
Simmons has a great spring, and just really showcases how much he's improved, then yeah, maybe I can put Montgomery out there, but until I see that, like
we
I
can
know
compromise.
I know you mentioned that if Simmons and Fryer is out there still, that we're in trouble, but we don't really truly know how well Montgomery is. How we know how he can be, but we just don't know. I do know.
I do know how good Fryer is. If you read between the lines on that, Kyle, we can compromise here and keep Simmons at left tackle and put Montgomery at right tackle. Would that be an acceptable compromise for you?
Sure.
That's going to make my backup left tackle a little odd then, because at my backup left tackle, I had Simmons or Mikowski.
And I had my backup right tackle as Montgomery. So I guess you can have. All
right. Well,
so my backup left tackle is Mikowski.
Yeah. I'll just edit this real quick to just be Mikowski.
Then I guess your backup right tackle. Who do we got? Who do we got out there? You got Fryer. Let me look. Who else we got here.
I would make the argument that Tegra Chabola. Who do you have at starting left tackle? It's on the screen. Can you read it? I had Montgomery out there, but Kyle, we compromised, and Simmons at left tackle, Montgomery's at right tackle.
I had so the backup right tackle though. Yeah, because that screwed mine up because I had Montgomery as my backup right tackle, so I gotta look to see who else is out there that we can
I had my backup right tackle as Tegra Chabola.
I actually have him as a starter.
I do too. What? Okay, so starting right guard, I have Tegra Chabola at right guard. Yep. But in my mind, in case of an injury, they bump him out to tackle. You feel me?
I got you. And then Tegra's backup is Vamahi.
I also have that, yes.
Okay.
You don't see anything.
We can do that.
Well, I don't know why you don't see anything. I'm sharing my screen. You should have a chart on your screen. Sorry.
And then the left guard. I got Simmons. Oh, I'm sorry, not Simmons. I'm sorry, Jackson.
Yeah,
got Jackson out there.
Yeah, and I have Saraveld backing him up.
For me, I have Padilla. You put too many L's there. I put too many L's there. Padilla, yes.
I assume Padilla. I actually am not that's how Anthony Padilla of Smosh fame pronounces it. I could see Hinsman moving to guard. Is what Gangland says. Possibly. I mostly see. Oh, could you see?
Yes, could.
Theoretically.
I think you got some good. I mean, Jackson and Tegra. Those are solid. Those are, in my mind, I think those are solid guards. I feel very comfortable in the interior right there. Jackson, McClellan, and Tegra.
Yeah. I do too. Hinsman has reps IDing pass pro with McLaughlin. That could be beneficial. We were talking about it before you got in here. I'm not really sure where the relationship is right now between Ohio State and Hinsman. That's sort of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll finish off the line here. We'll go tight end. We'll go with the tight end since we lost with Stover out.
Yeah.
I
have Kaczmarek.
I think that's the obvious choice. That's the obvious choice to have him right there.
Yeah, the Ohio transfer. I think that they went and got someone who's a blocker, and I think they went and got someone who's a blocker for a reason. Huge 6'6" physical guy. A blocker who can make a tough catch. Yeah. I think this is going to be like you bring in Howard. Spoiler alert, I do think Howard ends up being the quarterback. I think you bring him in to, run a read option and to have a tight end who can block. And I think that's why you bring in Kaczmarek. I do think you see a decent amount of Julian Thurman mix in, who I have as my backup tight end. But I don't think Thurman is, I would assume, Thurman came in a bit undersized, after winter workouts, after spring workouts, after summer workouts, maybe he puts on some muscle and maybe he's a little bit more ready to go out there and block. But I think that's probably the key for him getting on the field, because you still have G. Scott there.
And that's actually who I have as my backup, is G. Scott.
Yeah. With Thurman there, I don't know.
So you don't think Scott? You don't think we're going to see Scott out there?
I kind of think Scott might be a fullback. We saw him playing a lot in the backfield towards the end of last year. I don't have fullback as far as on the depth chart per se, but kind of an H-back, kind of a fullback. I think that's where we saw him playing a lot down the stretch for Ohio State. That might be his role on this team. But as far as like an on-the-line tight end, I don't know. I think a lot of it depends upon how much weight and how comfortable the coaching staff is with Thurman as far as his blocking ability, as to, how many reps are split between Thurman and Scott. Do you want to?
I guess I'll let you have Thurman, or maybe do Thurman or Scott.
You can do Thurman or Scott.
Okay. Okay.
All right, where are we going next?
On. I guess we'll do the quarterback next. I think right now it's Howard. Howard's your starting quarterback, and until
I'm not going to let you do it this time.
Still on the team, Jared. I still got Brown. I got Brown as your backup.
I am sorry, but if Howard wins the job, I don't see Brown staying on the team. And we're
I know,
projecting the
Jared.
depth chart. That's what we're doing.
I
We're projecting.
with the team how it is right now, I got
But
Brown
that's
as the backup.
but
Now if he leaves, then he leaves. Okay, then yeah, it's going to be Lincoln as your backup. But
yeah, no, I don't agree. I think we're well within our. This is a projection. And if we're projecting all the way to September, I think we have to take what is an obvious departure, a obvious situational departure into account. I have to. I'm going to leave Keenholz on here. I don't see both Howard and Brown on the team with Howard starting in September. I just do not see that as a possibility. Do you think Brown or Keenholz
I agree.
have a future
I
in the
agree.
program? Well, I mean, that just depends upon how spring goes. We're all kind of giving Howard the job at this point, and I get it, but Brown. What if Brown has an amazing spring and wins the job? But that's just not how I'm projecting it currently. But it's possible. We heard he had an amazing spring
That's
last year, but he
that,
got hurt. What I
that's the
was
story.
hearing,
That's the story of Brown. Unfortunately, of this career at Ohio State is
what I was hearing a lot about Brown was that he was at times spectacular, but inconsistent. I think that's how McCord ended up winning the job, was superior consistency. I don't think it's all injuries, although the injuries have certainly not helped him.
I'm fine putting Lincoln in there if you put or Brown.
Fine.
All right, and the running back, it's Trey. It's Trey's is your starter here. Trey's your starter, and then Judkins, the transfer coming in, is your backup.
I think that while I don't want to overuse the or, I think this is going to be such a 50-50 split. I think this is the appropriate time to use the or.
I don't think so.
Henderson I think they're going to split carries pretty 50-50. I think this is the exact opportunity to use the or. And I have Henderson or Judkins. It realistically should be Henderson and Judkins. They're both RB1. And that's okay.
So you really are saying here, Jared, that Judkins is on par with Henderson.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, I do. There are many people who would tell you that Judkins is better. I'm not signing off on that per se, but Dallin will see significant reps if we're going to have 16-game season. You can't put all those reps on two guys, is what Gangland says. That's assuming Dallin stays around to receive those reps, which is a pretty big assumption, I think, at this point. But yeah, Kyle, I think
who do you have as your backup then?
Peoples. He's a true freshman. I want Dallin to stay around. I hope Dallin stays around. I think if he leaves spring camp as the third running back, I don't know that he does. I hope he does. I want him around. I think that Gangland is absolutely correct. Dallin will see significant reps if we're going to have a 16-game season. Gangland is absolutely right. Will Dallin Hayden agree? Is the question. Will he stick around to see those reps? And I don't think he will, which is why I have James Peoples, the true freshman, as the third running back. But again, I want Dallin Hayden to stay. That's not me saying otherwise. I hope he stays, but I don't know that he will. Dallin has made it sound like he's staying for a while. Maybe.
I'll cave in. I'll keep what you have here then, Jared. The X wide receiver. So we're going to go with our 3 wide receivers. Let's start with the X, the obvious one. It's Ibuka. Ibuka is your starter for X. And
I'll just
for me,
before we move on. I don't know how obvious Ibuka's going to start. I don't know how obvious it is that he's going to be X. I could see him playing he could start at any 3 of the wide receiver spots and I wouldn't be shocked. I'm just tossing that out there. He's right, absolutely starting. I'm not going to say absolutely where.
All right, let's do this then, Jared. So let's do our 3 starters then.
Let's do that. Well, I have 5.
Let's do that first. So wide receiver 2, number 2, I have Ballard.
I have Ballard or Tate.
And then the slot I have Tate.
I have Innis or Smith in the slot. I think we have a 5 wide receiver rotation, which isn't entirely true because I think Ibuka is going to be on the field all the time, but I think the other 2 wide receiver spots will rotate 2 deep. That's how I see it. I think there are 5 wide receivers on this team, in my opinion, who are going to see the majority of the reps if they stay healthy. And those 5 people are Ibuka, Tate, Ballard, Innis, and JJ Smith.
Yeah, I have
where they end up on the field and in what mixture of reps, I'm not 100% sure, but I will say it's those 5 guys. I will say that Ibuka's always on the field, and Ballard, Tate, Innis, and Smith will be rotating.
Yeah, so Ibuka, Ballard, Tate were my 3, and then the backups I had was Innis, and then for backup for Ballard was going to be Antwi or Grays, and then the slot I have it's Grays or Smith.
I have the backing up Ibuka at X. I have Antwi. At Z, I have Grays behind Ballard or Tate, and at the slot, I have Rogers behind Innis/Smith.
How are we going to do this one then, Jared?
I don't know.
They're the same. They're the same players. It's just.
Yeah, I just have maybe more of a healthy rotation than you do. Or maybe a more structured rotation than you do. If that makes sense.
I would say that because you got Ibuka in, then I think Innis is Innis fits well between Ibuka, and I just think Ballard and Tate are your other starters, and then you got the other 4 young wide receivers to back them up.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about the 5 wide receiver rotation at the top.
Okay.
And again, I don't necessarily care a whole lot about, is Ibuka an X or is he a Z, or will he be in the slot if there's 3 wide receivers on the field? Because I quite frankly think that that's not going to be super set in stone regardless, especially for Ibuka, who is a veteran in this system. He could play all 3 positions. I feel like he could do that reliably. Okay. For a younger guy like JJ Smith, maybe JJ Smith just learns one of the positions at the top. You know what I mean? But I don't know, Kyle, you see what I have on the board right now. Do you want to advocate for any changes?
No, I don't think we're gonna come to an agreement here, so we'll just keep it. So before we go on the defense here, I think we'll take a quick quick ad break here.
Yeah, if you want to avoid these ads, you can sign up for our Patreon, patreon.thesloopcast.com. You can avoid these little ad breaks in the audio version of the podcast by visiting our Patreon and getting our ad-free exclusive podcast feed at patreon.thesloopcast.com. It's only $3 a month or $32 a year. Okay, Kyle. It's time for the defense.
All right. Where would you want to start?
How about the nose tackle?
You may want to zoom out a little bit.
Okay, I got it.
There we
go. There we are. Yeah, I would appreciate, Kyle, if we just went down the show notes. That's how I have the players ordered.
All right, fine.
All right, nose tackle.
I think the defensive line. we agree. We agree. Your nose tackle is Hamilton.
Yeah.
Your other defensive tackle is Williams.
I have those backwards on the graphic for some reason. If you're looking at the graphic, just know that those are backwards and that I'm not going to fix it. Yeah, I'm not going to fix it. But just know that they're backwards.
And then your strong side is Tui Malau, and then your weak side is Sawyer.
Yeah, I agree. We can talk about the jack position. I didn't have a way necessarily to put that up on the screen as a 12th player of sorts. We can certainly talk about that, but maybe we finish out the defensive line first. But as far as the starting core goes, yeah, Kyle and I are in total agreement. Those are your starting 4 defensive linemen. Mike Hall leaves. Hamilton, who started a bunch of games last year, even when Hall was on the team, and rotated pretty evenly with Hall, is just your starter now. He's just your straight and away starter now. I'm not even that concerned about the depth, because I think behind Hamilton you have Malone or McDonald, and I think behind Williams you have Canoe, and you also have Smith Jr. And again, if you're looking at the graphic, know that I have the defensive tackle and the nose tackle backwards.
Yeah, I have Malone as your backup and Kanu as the backup.
Yeah, I just decided to put a 6-man rotation on the screen.
And then
that's all.
I think the backups for the defensive end, I think it's Curry and Jackson are your backups.
Curry behind JT, Jackson behind Sawyer. That's I think that's pretty well established at this point.
Yep.
I'd say my only take would be that I think they'll rotate a little bit more aggressively this year. I think the past couple years, JT and Sawyer took the majority of the carries, and I think that this year you might see Curry and Jackson rotate in more.
All right, fair enough. All right, you were mentioning the jack position. I know you don't have that up here.
Right. Not on the screen.
The jack or even the third linebacker, if you want to put it that way.
The third linebacker or the 4th defensive end, but he's standing up. However you choose to.
I think because of the entry of Downs, I think that fits Styles. That fits Styles in that jack position.
Yeah, I think you see Jack. I do think you'll see Styles play the jack role. I think Cam Williams feels like the obvious backup there. assuming he is able to stay healthy this year, which is obviously and unfortunately been a challenge for him.
Mm-hmm.
What I think, when I look at this defense, I see 10 guys who are the first string. I think that Tyleik Williams, JT Sawyer, Styles, Simon, Hancock, Burke, Igbinosa, Ransom, Downs. Like that's like your core 10 guys. And then you can make adjustments around that. Because maybe Styles is playing the will linebacker position, or maybe he's closer to the line and he's playing the jack. And when you have him closer to being a linebacker, you bring in an extra defensive lineman, which is your nose tackle. And if you have him playing more up and sort of playing as a defensive lineman, then you might have an extra linebacker on the field, and then that would be Hicks. So I think depending upon the situation, you're essentially kind of floating between a 4-3, but it's not even a 4-3. No, let me take that back. You're kind of floating somewhere in between a 4-2 and a 3-3. And like that extra guy is Styles. Whether he is the linebacker in the 4-2, or if he's like in the 3-3, a linebacker there, but he's kind of playing up closer to the line as a fourth blitzer, but he's standing. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? If you think about, if you're in a 4-2, are you in a traditional 4-2 with 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers? Or do you have 3 down linemen and then you essentially have Hicks not Hicks, you have Styles as kind of just the fourth blitzer who might be coming from anywhere as the quote unquote fourth lineman in that jack role. So again, like you have 3 down linemen, and in that case, maybe you take Hamilton off the field, you move Styles up closer to the line, and then you bring Hicks in to replace Styles at linebacker. And that's like your 3-3. Am I making sense? Am I expressing my thoughts well?
I got it. I understood it.
Okay.
And
Can't read the font. I'm sorry if the font is difficult to read. I was going for a chalk motif. I probably could have put a clearer font on there.
I don't think we're going to really see him as a backup here, but I think the backup for the jack is Williams.
Yeah. Cam Williams for sure. I would say so.
Yeah. Yep. All right, linebackers. I guess we will do the 2 linebackers here, and it's Simmons and Hicks. It's Simmons and Hicks here.
Sometimes Hicks, sometimes Styles. Again, because of the long thing I just said. I think Styles doesn't leave the field. If he's the jack, he's the jack, and if he's not the jack, then he's the will linebacker. If he's playing jack, then you bring in Hicks to be the will linebacker. But if he's not playing the jack, then he's playing the will linebacker, in which case Hicks isn't on the field. I think it just sort of depends upon, like I said, are you in a 4-2 or are you in a 3-3?
Outside of the defensive line, there's 5 players that should never leave the field. And that's Styles, Burke, Igbinosa, Ransom, and Downs.
I don't think you ever
leave the field.
I don't think you ever take Hancock off the field. I think you were in a constant nickel.
You think so?
I do.
Even if it's a power,
yeah,
power run offense that they're going up against?
I do. Well, because look at it this way. If you have someone with Styles' body type out there, you could easily go into, you have your 4 down linemen. Well, maybe JT bumps in a gap. Well, guess what? Now you have 5 down linemen. So now you have 5 down linemen. You have Cody Simon behind the line. And at that point, I feel incredibly comfortable with, then you bring Ransom down into the box and he's essentially playing linebacker. This is with Downs joining this team, we now have free reign to play. You now have free reign to play Styles in the box where he should have always been, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, Styles should be in the box, like between line of scrimmage and the first down mark. That's where he should be.
He should never be more than a few yards past the line of scrimmage. Again, like, and it's the versatility that he gives you because he can cover tight ends pretty easily. He's obviously good in coverage. He was playing safety last year. But I also think you could put his hand in the dirt and have him rush the edge. I'd argue that's where he maybe should be regardless.
I don't know about that.
Kyle, I think that's where he would be best. I think that's where he would be best as a pure edge rusher.
Not this year.
Well, that's not where Ohio State needs him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's where he would be best.
Okay.
And you always have the 5 because you just bump him from linebacker down to defensive line. And again, you have Ransom, who is excellent in run support. You have Downs, who is excellent in run support, led Alabama by 30 tackles over second place, led Alabama in tackles last year. I think they could cover the run just fine out of the nickel.
All right.
And to me, it just depends upon which nickel are you running, whether it's a 3-3 nickel or a 4-2 nickel.
All right, who do you got as or I think we did agree. Williams as the backup, or I'm sorry, Powers is the backup for the Mike.
Yeah.
And then Reese, I have for the backup for the weak side.
I have Reese or Glover. I think it could be either one of those guys. I think that's going to be a good camp battle to see who wins that spot.
All right. CB1.
Burke.
CB2, Igmanosin.
Yep. And your Nicholas Hicks. Or Hancock, excuse me. I keep saying Hicks. Hancock.
Yep. Hancock is the nickel. And then might as well fill out the rest of the starters. Your down safety is Ransom, and then your other safety is Downs. Yes.
Yeah, your field safety, your I spelled field wrong on the graphic. And I locked it in, so I can't change it. That's embarrassing.
Now here's where we have things a little interesting here. So you have, or I have for the backup for the nickel. I actually have Stover. I have Stover as the backup. And you have Matthews as the backup.
I think Matthews I think the important takeaway here is that Matthews is the is the fourth corner.
Okay. All right. I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Matthews is your fourth corner. We can say, oh, well, he's the backup nickel. Because let's just say either Iggy or Burke gets hurt. What is actually going to happen in that situation, in my opinion, is that Hancock's going to move out of the nickel into CB 1 or 2, and that Matthews becomes the new nickel safety, the new cover safety, the nickel corner, the cover, what the slot corner, whatever the hell you want to call it.
I don't know. I like Stover in that nickel position though.
Hancock? You mean?
No, as the backup. As the backup, Stover.
Stover?
Am I getting my guys mixed up?
True freshman Stover? Are you?
Yeah. I've heard of like a lot of great things with him and for that nickel position. I really like what I've seen.
I don't know, Kyle. Wouldn't you rather have one of the corners there?
Yeah, I guess we can keep Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, and if not Matthews, Calvin Simpson, Hunt, the Elder Styles, I think would be better options there, personally. And actually have the Elder Styles / Simpsons, Hunt backing up Igmanosin at cornerback too. But the important thing here is that Matthews is your third, or excuse me, Hancock is your third corner. Matthews is your fourth corner. I think guys just sort of bump up. If someone, like if Burke gets hurt, Igmanosin becomes your cornerback 1. Hancock becomes your cornerback 2. Matthews becomes your nickel guy. And then you have Lorenzo Styles and Calvin Simpson Hunt. And I really don't know, like, who's the fifth guy? Like, one of them is going to be the fifth guy. One of them is going to be the sixth guy. Although you do have Bryce West, Miles Lockhart, and Aaron Scott coming in this year. But, Cal, can you check the Discord channel? Who among those, if you check the 2024 signed class, who among them is coming in the spring? It's denoted in that channel. I forget who's coming in. Join the Discord, discord.thesleepcast.com, where we have all of these pieces of info easily accessible in the Discord server. That's discord.thesleepcast.com. This is where I'd put a slogan if I had one.
I'm looking. I'm not seeing it, Jared. Apologize.
If you go to the 2024 signed class channel, there's a tulip next to all the players who are coming in the spring.
A tulip.
It's a flower that typically blooms in the spring.
So corners are West, Lockhart, and Scott.
All three of them are coming in the spring?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So, maybe one of them ends up entering into that battle as well.
And the backups, I think, for the other safeties we agreed with is Carter backing up Ransom and Hartford backing up Downs.
I agree. That feels the most likely to me. You have Jaden Bonzu, who is, will be entering his second year, as well as Cedric Hawkins Jr. entering his second year. Maybe one of those two guys makes a run for one of those jobs. I think that's certainly possible. But for right now, it feels like, Carter and Hartford, based off of their playing time last year, at least have an advantage in that race for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Kyle.
All right.
I didn't make a graphic for the special teams, but we do have special teams in the notes. But before we do that, just want to take another quick commercial break. We're going to jump to a Spreaker commercial on the podcast feed. If you don't want to hear the Spreaker commercials on the podcast feed, you can join the patreon.thesloopcast.com, where you can get an ad-free listening experience. It's you get a bunch of other cool benefits: premium access to the Discord server, early access to episodes, all that and more over at patreon.thesloopcast.com. Again, $3 a month, $32 a year. Okay, real quick, special teams, kicker. Let me look at the spreadsheet real quick. We have a minor disagreement at kick returner.
We do, yes.
A minor disagreement at kick returner. We both have Fielding as the kicker. We both have our new Aussie punter McGuire as the punter. Furlman as the long snapper. We both have punt returner Caleb Downs. Kyle, how excited are you for Caleb Downs to be returning kicks, or punts at least?
My hopes have skyrocketed. Don't let them down.
Don't let them Downs.
Yes.
Kick returner. We both have Downs. Now I put Ballard, you put Ibuka. Do you want to fight about it?
Nope. It's a
yeah, me either. Fine. You can have it. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. All right, Kyle. That's it. That's our way too early podcast prediction, or podcast prediction, depth chart position podcast. We'll do another one of these after the spring. So we'll compare to see what had changed. Maybe there'll be some players who leave after the spring. There might be a player or two who come in after the spring, and there unfortunately will probably be an injury or two, and there will be battles that are won and lost in that time. So, like I said, we'll revisit this after spring camp, which is, several months away. But, we wanted to get this too early podcast prediction in. Reminder to any of the people, especially in the Discord server, who are listening at this point, we are planning in the coming weeks of doing 2 Ask Sloopcast episodes. Now, these are different than a normal Ask Sloopcast. This is actually us asking the audience for feedback. And I want to go ahead and open this up to the general public as well. You can email us, sloopcast@gmail.com, sloopcast@gmail.com. We have 2 upcoming show ideas. One is called Wild Predictions for the 2024 season. Send us an email with wild as the subject line if you want to potentially get your wild predictions read on the show. I wrote here, this could be Ohio State centric or national. Stat predictions are fun and wanted, but don't worry about limiting yourself to concrete facts. We won't be keeping score. Had fun with it. Tell a story. And we are doing a separate Ask Sloopcast episode. If you want to send your idea in on this one, send us an email, sloopcast@gmail.com, with the subject line FIX, F-I-X. This is if you have an idea to fix college football. You think that there is something wrong with college football, and you have an idea to fix it. I wrote here, time to write that manifesto. This can be as serious or as fun as you want it to be. And then I provide a good example provided by Discord user Spikes, which is probably too small to read there, but I don't really want you to read it anyway because it'll be on the show in the next few weeks. So just opening that up to everybody. Again, if you have an idea to fix something with college football, send us an email with fix in the subject line. What's broken in college football and your plan to fix it. And also we're taking wild predictions, wild in the subject line, wild predictions for the 2024 season. It can be Buckeye centric. It can be national college football. And you don't feel like you got to stick to concrete facts. Have fun with it. Tell us a story. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
There's actually quite a few things. I'll try to rapid fire that. Big boom. Got a big boom here. Carter Lowe.
Yep.
Over in Toledo, has committed to Ohio State. One of the top offensive tackles.
Yeah.
For the 2025 class here.
Huge. I mean, it's an expected get for Ohio State, but an important get for Ohio State.
Very, very.
And if you listen to our 2025 mock, he was included in that 2025 mock.
And so that is now already, Jared, there are 5 players in the top 80 in the 24/7 composite that are committed to Ohio State. 4 in the top 80 already.
Yeah, taking a quick peek at our mock here. Ohio State has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 committed already.
They do. Yep. Just a quick reference. That's Devin Sanchez, one of the top corners out of Texas. Zahir Mathis, edge rusher out in Philadelphia. Travis St. Clair and Bell Fountain. Blake Woodby over at St. Francis Academy in Maryland. One of the top corners. Just mentioned Carter Lowe. Jayan Boggs out in Florida, a wide receiver. Not highly rated, but just keep an eye on him. And Ejai Lee out in Archbishop Hoban, that is over in Akron, an in-state linebacker.
Yeah, it's a good crew already that I think is going to get better. I'm very optimistic about our 2025 recruiting class.
Yes. And other news here, because it does affect Ohio State, is Jamie Harbs heading on over to Cal, heading over to California,
Los Angeles, the NFL, the Chargers.
Yes, that's the state.
When
Los Angeles.
When you say Cal on a college football podcast,
you're right. And I didn't see if this was official, Jared, but the defensive corner is coming with them, right?
Coordinator, yes.
I think I did see that. Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know if that's like officially official, but it has been like reported on. Yeah. Sam Webb at 24/7 Sports reported that Minter is going to Los Angeles as well. So I don't know if that's like officially official, but it's been reported pretty widely at this point.
Yeah. And so Michigan then, 2 days after Jimmy Harbs takes the job over at the Chargers, they decide to promote Moore as the head coach. And that's going to be very interesting.
I have
the NCAA comes out with their rulings.
So we have the 2 Ask Sloopcast questions or Ask Sloopcast episodes in the chamber that we're taking requests for. Also in the chamber, we have coming down the pipe God, we've never done this before. We have a Know Your Episode off-season edition. Or Know Your Episode. God, I can't talk tonight, Kyle. A Know Your Enemy off-season edition. We're going to talk about Michigan. We're going to do an entire Michigan episode here in the coming weeks to talk about who Michigan has, who Michigan doesn't have, and what we think of their season upcoming. Actually, I already have the show notes mostly written for that one.
All right. That's all I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the basketball team, so we're just going to end.
No, let's not talk about the basketball team. Yeah, I think I already did enough plugs for tonight. Let's see. We're going to do Columbus-based band. Don't let the name fool you. Their name is Defiance, Ohio, but they are from Columbus. They will be ending our show tonight. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Defiance, Ohio.